Well, awesome. We have the famous Matt Vander Boegh.
Uh,
How you doing, man?
hey, I'm doing good. We're on
Awesome.
our third day of lockdown here in Idaho.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
trying to figure out things to do to stay busy, and it's a lot of work right now, which is good.
Uh-huh. And I see your studio there, or your workroom there has got lots of toys for you to play
Yeah,
around
that's
with.
right. See, that's my vocal booth, mixing studio. That's the mastering suite. That's everything, everything all rolled into one. The acoustics in there are perfect.
Oh wow! And I guess
Yeah,
well,
let me just give you another view of that thing. See, now there's
oh wow.
there's the door. That's where the solicitors show up and try to sell me new gear that I tell them I don't need.
Ah, that's fun. Well, it's yeah, and I guess if you have a client that comes over and he says, "Oh, turn the snare up. Oh, now turn it down. And now turn it back up. Now turn it down." You can say, go ahead and just go in the sit in there for a little while."
Yeah, go ahead and sit in the lounge. We got cocktails in there. You go ahead and we'll work on that snare sound for you out here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey man, it's great to be with you. I know it's we've written a couple of songs together. Well, what have we written? Like 10 now or something?
You know, I just tried to count them. I think it's like 18.
Oh wow.
So yeah, well, I know. I didn't know we did that much either. So
Yeah, well, that's right. I think we did some extras and that's right. But some non-exclusive and some exclusive. That's cool. That's cool.
yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
There we go. Awesome.
Yeah. That surprised me too, because I was remembering, okay, we did those 10 and then a few extras. Maybe we did 12. But no.
Yeah.
Who
Awesome.
knew?
Well, man, let me ask you a couple of questions. So tell me, what made you get into the sync and the library world?
So it was actually it was totally random. When I started, well, I'm gonna go back in time. I've been a musician for forever, and but I always wanted to be like an artist because I wanted to be a rock star.
Who doesn't?
I think isn't that the way we all start out? We just want to, like, I grew up on old MTV in the
Oh yeah.
mid to late 80s, and so I saw the hair bands and everything, and I just wanted to be that. And so I was in rock bands and stuff, and when the bands kind of fizzled out, I started making music on my own, and I made a few albums just of hard rock music of my own stuff, but there was never any money to be made in any of that. Like, it was just a phenomenal expense for a good product, but like, the product is meaningless when nobody's listening to it except me. Like, what, did I really spend $10,000 on something that only me is listening to? That's a horrible waste of money.
I know. What was your main instrument? Because I can't remember what you play.
Bass guitar is what I did.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. So bass guitar. And so anyways, I was doing that. And then a friend of mine who actually owned the recording studios that I was recording all that music at, he turned me on to Taxi. And he was like, hey, this might be another little avenue for you to find. Because I was complaining about, like, I got this music, but what good is it doing anybody? It's not even doing me any good because I'm getting sick of it. And he's like, well, you should check this thing called Taxi out. He had been a member. So anyways, I jumped in there and I became a member, but I still, like, that rock stuff has a fairly small usability factor. I mean, and I wasn't doing, like, it wasn't pop rock, and it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't anything that was palatable by a wide audience. It was kind of like that kind of rock. Very niche. Yeah. So anyways, so I joined Taxi, and I was like, well, this is, you know, I'm going to find ways to make money here. And then I found out that all that rock music that I had, there was no market for that in the Taxi world either. So I started looking at the listings, and I saw all this opportunity for country stuff. Like, because the country guys really aren't writing their own stuff. Some of them are, but a lot of them aren't. And so, I mean, there's a lot more opportunity in country for a songwriter than there is in rock, because the rock bands write their own stuff.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'm gonna have to swallow my pride here and do the type of music that I never thought I would ever listen to, let alone do. So I started writing country music, and I did an album of that. And then I took that to a road rally, my first road rally that I ever went to. And I realized at that point how high the country bar was. Like that.
Yeah, it is.
The country bar is like, it's the highest bar of, I think, in personal opinion, highest bar of any music, songwriting, production, and musicianship.
Yep.
If you're not A++ material on all three of those categories, you know, or whatever your job is in those three categories, like, forget about it.
So true. So true.
Yeah. So at that point, I realized, well, maybe I'm just a little bit outclassed in music completely. Maybe I need to just, I don't know, sell some more newspaper ads, because that's what I was doing at the time, was selling newspaper advertisement. And no, maybe I'd already quit that job. I don't know what I was doing at the time. But I met a guy at that road rally named James Koshin, who's kind of he's a well-known name in the taxi world for people who do, you know, licensing stuff like what we do. You know James? Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, and back when I met him, he was just a dude like me at the beginning of my path, only he was a few years further ahead. But he, like, nobody knew who he was back then. And he was like, yeah, you know, I've been doing this for a few years. I'm starting to see some success. And, you know, here's what I'd recommend you do. Why don't you write stuff specifically for TV, but you got to change your approach. Like, you got to do things a lot different than you're doing now. And I was like, oh, well. And I was like, and who the heck are you to give me advice?
Right.
But it was good advice.
Yeah.
And so I took it, and I went home, and I made a conscious decision at that point that I'm going to go all in on writing music for TV. Right. And it became my number one focus from the moment I got home from that road rally. And that was back in, oh goodness, 2011, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, at the end of that, I made this all-in play that I was going to learn everything I could and just put all my eggs in one basket, and it was either going to sink or swim.
It was after the 2011 rally.
Yep.
Wow, that was me too.
Was it? No way.
After so it was the beginning of, I guess, 12. That I'm like, okay, I'm doing this thing. Let's go for this. You know, if it takes 6 years, 7, 10 years, I don't care. Let's go for it. Yeah. Yeah,
dude, I didn't know we started at the same time, because I remember when I stumbled onto your music, and it was through the taxi forums, I think. I was like, man, this guy's good. He must have been doing this for a long time. I thought you had like a 5-year head start on me.
No, I was same kind of story. You know, I was doing some music, you know, already before, did some albums and stuff. Nothing sold, nothing was really working.
Yeah.
Yeah, same story. And it was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Dang.
And so how long did it take you before you got your first placement, or before you realized that this is not just a step of faith, you know?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I started, I had this very mistaken belief that I could just jump in, learn everything in about 2 weeks, and then be off to the races. And I was like, you know, if I make $10,000 in my first year, that's it, you know, that's all right. Maybe 25 by my second year, and then third year I'll probably be hitting $50,000. You know, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But you know, yeah, by year 4 and 5, that's when I'll be $7,500,000 a year.
Nice,
dude. Because I was so clueless, I didn't know, and it was. Let's see it. Well, let me just say this: when I started writing music and producing it on my own, I knew nothing. Like, I knew less than nothing. I didn't even know how a compressor worked or what EQs were. I knew nothing, dude, nothing. So I was starting from complete scratch. It might as well have been self-education in like audio production 101. Actually, it was probably the audio production 025, like the 0 credit remedial class, where they tell people, this is what a microphone looks like. That's how basic.
You plug it in the cable.
Yeah, this is called the cable, and this is how they connect. That's where I started. And it took probably 6 months before anything even sounded decent. And decent still means like crap, but a lot less crappy than it was when I started.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I landed my first deal after 6 months of producing music just for TV, and so it was 6 months till I got my first deal. But that was a horrible. It was a company they've never done anything for me. I've never made 1 penny off of them. So it was just some crap company. I was excited, like through the moon, to get offered a contract. I was like, I finally made it. Look. And what it was some a cappella vocal stuff.
Okay, wow.
Which is surprising because I'm not a vocalist. I'm not a singer at all, but I had Melodyne. And I just whooped some stuff together. Yeah, and it wasn't any words. It just had to be this ambient sounding, like oohs and ahs type of thing. So I made a couple tracks that were passable, and they got a deal. And still to this day, that's been a complete dead end.
Yeah.
But it was 6 months until I got that first deal, and then I got my second deal within that same calendar year, so 2012. And then it took, I think, 2 years before I got my first placement, or maybe a year and a half until I got my first placement.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. Yep. It was this horrible tension track that I did for, well, I don't know if I did it for the show, but I did it for a company that gave it to the show called Catfish.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it went into this episode where some dude is, or maybe it's a girl, I don't know, but someone's pretending to be that rapper Bow Wow or Lil Bow Wow. I don't even know if that guy's relevant anymore, but so the episode had someone pretending to be Bow Wow, Lil Bow Wow. And so that episode has been just popular enough through the years because someone was impersonating a celebrity. But it's still rerunning. And so that crappy piece of music that I made somewhere in 2012 is still churning revenue for me.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm not much anymore, but it still shows up on all my statements, like $10 a quarter maybe, but
it all adds up. That's really cool.
I mean, how many other professions do people find themselves in where an hour's worth of work that they put in 8 years ago is still getting them any money?
I know. That's where the passive comes in, which is just so cool.
Yeah.
And, I totally agree. And it's so cool that we get to spend, maybe it takes us 10 hours or 40 hours to do a song or a track, whatever it takes. But we keep getting paid for that for years. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Long after you forgot that music even existed. Yeah.
That's it. I know. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So you go.
No. I was just going to tell you that I tell people all the time that this world that we live in is almost like a pyramid scheme. Because it's like you collect this passive income, you're not doing anything anymore. Yeah. But instead of having like all of your friends that you've alienated by trying to get them to sell snake oil,
I know
you've got these little pieces of music out there that are doing the work for you, and they send home money.
I know it's amazing. I know it's incredible. It's you can't ask for better than that. And what we're doing, we're loving it. So it's not even work. So.
Yeah. It's never felt like work to me, and especially like it's so timely right now that here we are on a home lockdown, like we're not even supposed to leave our houses.
Yep.
And I never leave my house anyway, so there's really no disruption to my life, and the money is still coming in. We're not going to see a downturn in what we're doing. And I would say that this may be optimistic thinking, but I think it's kind of realistic that more people are going to be tuning into the TV.
Yep.
So the ratings are going to be going up. And so I think our royalties are going to go up.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Yeah, if everyone, you're right, absolutely. And I think that if everyone, everyone's working online now and everything, so that's actually going to mean more commercials and stuff. You versus like someone who sits in an office, you know, doing meetings and stuff. Now they're actually online in front of the computer, so there's more. Yeah, there's more content or more visuals. There's going to be more opportunities. Absolutely, I totally agree.
yeah. And like, I know just being here with my daughter all day, every day, like I play PBS Kids and just kind of have it running in the background. And I imagine there's a lot of adults that are out there that are just, they got MTV just in the background.
Yep.
And that's just making numbers go up, which makes our paychecks go up. So, you know, not to make light of the situation that the world is finding itself in right now, but we are a privileged group. I think we're just incredibly lucky. And lucky for us, like me and you, we started it at a point in time where we're now in a position to be able to weather this storm.
Yep.
Because the money is going to keep coming in for us. We're not losing our jobs. Like ASCAP and BMI, they're not just like ceasing royalty payments.
No.
So yeah, like I've never been more grateful for doing this job and putting in all the work it took to get here than I am right now. Because I've got friends and family that are losing their jobs right now, and they don't know how they're going to pay bills.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. Yeah, I know. It's I know we're super blessed. I couldn't agree more. It's just, you know, I've been more busy in the last month than I've been in. You know, it just keeps piling up, and I can't keep up. I got too many publishers, and you're in the same place where there's just got too much work, and it's like you just have to prioritize. It's just,
yeah,
you know, it just keeps growing, keeps getting more and more and more. I was actually I was going to tell you on my last statement, maybe you know what it is too. I haven't looked it up, but now there's Netflix, of course. There's Hulu. There's Amazon has their own stuff. There's a few others, but then there's Sony does something. Have you seen that on your statement? Like Sony's got their own content and stuff. There's more.
No kidding.
Yeah, something like that. And so it's like it's just more and more people are putting out their own content, you know. And
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Google starts their own thing or.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Well, they got the Apple TV stuff now, and I actually landed a sync on one of their called The Morning Show.
Nice on Apple TV on
I guess it's Apple TV. Yeah, it's a show. I guess it won some what are they called, Emmys?
Yeah, I think
the TV. Yeah, they won some Emmys for I don't know what, but it's got like Steve Carell and Jennifer Aniston.
Sweet.
Yeah, show day. And that wouldn't have existed up until here recently, and I imagine we're just going to see more and more stuff like that. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely super blessed. You know, we're both super blessed, you know, to be able to do this, you know. And well, let's. I got maybe a couple more questions. What's the time? I don't want to hold you too long.
Oh, you're good.
Yep. All right, so let me ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll break into a part two. Where we can talk about our track that we got that we one of those 18 that we did, and and you know we can chat about that and kind of let people know what you know how we even collaborated and who did what work and how it kind of all did that, you know. So
yeah.
But okay, so I got two more questions for you,
sure.
And then we'll do a rapid baseball. I'm going to swing a bunch of balls at you. You're going to have to hit them with a one sentence or one one word answer. But
the lightning round.
The lightning round. That's it. I'll call it that. So okay. So how many tracks do you do a month? Do you say, or do you have a goal, or do you?
Yeah. So I've got a goal, and it's.
And how many of those are vocals and instruments?
Yeah, it's kind of changing. So every year I set a new goal, and I start on it on January 1st, and it goes all the way through December 31st. So one calendar year. And every year it changes a little bit, just kind of based on my own situation or what I want to focus on. But typically what I try to shoot for is 500 pieces of music a year, which is, yeah. So that 2 years ago, that was my goal, was 500, and I hit it. And it took me until December 31st to get that 500th piece of music done, but I made it. And it didn't matter to me whether they were vocals or instrumental things. It was just 500 tracks.
500 little assets.
500, yeah, 500 little minions out, peddling my health drinks, sending money back home to daddy. Yeah. So I just wanted 500 in 1 year. And what that boiled down to was about 10 tracks per week. And so the way I track that is like, I've got a weekly or whatever.
Yep.
Weekly calendar. And, they got this stuff set up. So, every year you can kind of see, or every week they got a notes field.
Oh, yeah.
And so
that's really organized. Yeah.
This is actually 2019. I'm showing you I'm 1 year behind. But anyways, in those notes, I would write in what my target is. So where I should be. If I was in like the middle of March, like we are, or the end of March, like we are right now, then at 10 tracks a week, that should have put me at, well, how many weeks is that? About 12-ish weeks.
Right,
so
right.
my goal would be 120.
Yeah.
I should be at the 120th track by the end of that week. And then so I would write down where I really was. And if I was ahead, and I always try to work ahead to build in a buffer zone, I'd be like, okay, I'm at 125. I only needed to be at 120. I'm doing good.
Okay.
And then there were some weeks where I was like, oh, I should be at 160 right now, and I'm at 147. I've fallen behind. And so it just give me a weekly accountability check with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I tracked all those goals. But
well, that's really smart. That's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I'm one of those, I don't know if it's personality quirk or whatever, and I'm assuming there's a lot of people like this, but if I don't have a goal staring me down in the face, stuff just doesn't happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, and just thinking back to all that music that we made in a very short amount of time, we had deadlines that we were shooting for. Yeah, and so we're like, boom, 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 boom. And we were machines. We were cranking out this awesome vocal stuff. And we did a lot of it in a very short amount of time. It was because we had a deadline staring us in the face. And as soon as that, like we talked before you started recording about, we hit the finish line and then the deadline disappeared. And so I have to have, if I don't have something to shoot for, then stuff, I'm not as productive.
Oh, absolutely.
And, so
for myself, I keep a monthly. I'm down to about 15 a month. So
okay.
So yeah. I some days I'll do. Some months I'll do maybe 18, and some months I'll do like 12, depending what life throws at you. If you want to go on a cruise or if you want to go on a surf trip, it'll.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well,
and you got to take time to do stuff for yourself too, because if you turn yourself into a slave of your own studio trying to hit these numbers, eventually you'll hit burnout mode.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you got to take these little breaks, and that's what we work for, is the ability to so if you don't treat yourself every now and then it's like, what are we doing this for? So we can be dragons and sit on a pile of gold.
I don't know.
Hey, there's my daughter's in the back.
Hey.
That's Espen.
Did she?
Hey, Espen, you want to say hi? Oh, she's turning her head to the side.
Okay.
She's going to be in the shot, but
well, there you go. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a good visual where you're working at home, and it's like that's the life, and it's be able to work at home and and make passive income. That's a dream, right? And it's not even work because it's music. So you get to push buttons and make music for a living. So.
Yeah. We're not frying bacon over a hot thing, burning our hands, or like we're not nailing nails into drywall.
No. And we're not like trying to climb up that ladder where it's like, you want to, next year you'll be the manager, and then the next boss,
Yeah,
and the next
right.
level.
Yeah, no corporate ladder.
Well,
And like I've done that before. I did 5 years in the corporate world, and I know that mentality where everyone's like, yeah, I gotta prove myself here for a few years, then I move up into this thing, and then I gotta move into management. And there's always just this corporate trajectory.
I know.
And meanwhile, they're like always talking about, I gotta go buy a new suit, gotta get
And you know what I think too? I'm a big believer in doing what you can control, and obviously, climbing up a ladder like that is, you can't control it because anything can happen, whatever, it's like you can get a favoritism to someone else or something else, and it's out of your control. But in our world, you get to control every hour. If you want to sleep in, you sleep in. If you want to wake up early and be like, okay, let's hit some deadlines, you can do that, and you're going to get it, whatever you put into it, you're going to get it back out. And so I love it.
Yep. That's totally it. Your destiny is in your own hands.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool, man. Well, let me ask you the last question.
Yeah.
Then we'll jump into chatting about our recent placement on one of our tracks there. So here's the question. So if you could go back in time or and talk to yourself and say, hey, you got to do this, or if you can give any advice to or what would be the one thing you'd give advice to the viewers, anybody who wants to get into the sync and licensing world, what?
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is one thing I tell everybody, especially like I've got this workshop group of musicians here in my hometown. I kind of mentor them, but now they've like, through the years, we've been doing this for 3 years, and they're doing it now.
That's great.
But what I tell everybody is anyone can do this. Anyone can be successful. And I'm a case in point. I knew nothing about any of this stuff when I started. I just decided I wanted to do it and jumped in without knowing the first thing about any of it. So if I can do it, anyone can. So that's like the motivational thing, or the positive look at everything. If you want to be optimistic, anyone can do this and be successful if you have a little bit of musical talent. Like you can't just can't not have that. But the realistic thing that I wish I knew early on, that I try to impress on everybody now, is it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen over a year. It doesn't even happen over 2 years or 3 years. Like, you have to be in this thing for the long haul, and you've got to commit yourself to 5 years at a bare minimum before you can look back and say, okay, I've got some financial success happening now, and things are going, they're moving in the right direction. I can see the writing on the wall. I see where this is going. But that takes years and years to get there. The first 2 years are just going to be a person making music in isolation in their room or wherever, not getting any results, not getting any signings. Oh, I missed some gold nuggets. We're hiding gold nuggets because it was St. Patrick's Day recently.
Oh, sweet.
Apparently I missed some.
little chocolate gold nuggets or something?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, the big reality is this is such a far-flung process that anyone who goes into this expecting to be successful within a year, you are going to go home disappointed.
Yeah.
But far too many people go into this thinking that, just like I did, I thought, well, I'll make 10,000 in my first year. That'd be easy. And, that's not reality at all. And that's just the nature of the business. Even if you are already piped into the system and you've already got libraries you're working with, and they're taking your music instantly after you write it.
Yep. Well,
they still have to get it out to a TV show, and that could take years. But let's just say, fastest case possible, You write a piece of music that is instantly signed by a library, that is instantly delivered to a show, that is instantly put in to an episode, that is aired the next day. Okay, I mean, this never, will never, ever happen. But even if it did, you still have to wait 6 to 9 months before you see your money for that.
That's right, yeah. Unless it's a sync up front or something, but they're getting rare and rare, but yeah.
Yeah, and even then, like, I'm not getting my syncs, my upfront money for 6 months.
Yeah.
So, even at the fastest, most fast-tracked, unimaginably fast, impossibly fast scenario, you're still not getting paid for 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And more realistically, this is what's going to happen. You're going to write a piece of music today that might get signed by a library next week. If you're piped into the system, if you're not piped into the system, it might not get signed for a year, if it ever gets signed.
Yeah.
And then once the library takes it, they got to ingest it into their catalog, and they got to do all the stuff that they do. And it might be 2 more months until it's live on their website, or however they do their music. It might be 2 to 6 months or even a year until it's pitched to a show that piece of music is even applicable for.
Absolutely.
And that might be 5 to 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
And then maybe the show says, nah, no, we don't want it. And then you got to wait for another opportunity. Yeah. And then once that happens, you're another 2 years down the road. And then once your piece of music finally gets aired on TV, then you're waiting the 6 to 9 months to get your royalties. So that's why this takes so long. It's not a matter of your work ethic or anything, because anyone can sit down and say, I'm going to sit down this year and make 50 to 100 pieces of music. Okay, great. But the reality is you're not going to see money on those tracks for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's why it just,
our royalties, we're getting paid for songs that we've written 3 or 4 years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, so.
Well, yeah, as a for instance, that song that we did that just landed on that MTV show, you were telling me that we did that 2 years ago.
Yep. I think it was the 17th, 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, and we're just now going to see money on that. Well, it just got placed, so we won't even see the money on that for, I don't know,
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, July maybe, or even October. So, so I always tell people that anyone can do this job, but don't quit your day job. In the meantime, you can't just walk away from whatever your current revenue stream is, and expect to be recouping or replacing that income with music money. You will eventually if you stick with it, but it's a years-long process.
That's really good advice. Yeah, it's really good. And the cool thing is, I always tell people is if you love what you do, because I had the same goal, I wanted to do this full time, but then also a second goal was I want to get good at recording my music. I love sound, I love music. So they kind of like those goals hand in hand. It was inevitable because I'm enjoying it every day and I'm getting better. I'm enjoying that even more every day. And then, you're able to do it full time, so.
It all works in tandem. Mm-hmm. The more music you make, the better your sound quality gets, the better your songwriting, the better everything gets.
Yep.
And the better everything gets, the more stuff gets placed, and the more stuff gets placed, the more money you make. So just as long as you're doing the work, just do the work.
And then the more money you make, the more vacations you take.
And then the more backwards you go and have to start over again. Sit down at your Pro Tools rig after a month off, and you're like, how did I do that again?
Where's the record button? I know.
What is this cable thing?
I know. So, all right. So here's some rapid fire questions for you. And you have to answer with one word or one quick sentence.
Okay.
Are you ready? If you're on a desert island, they're going to be simple ones, desert island ones. So what is one compressor that you would take? Go.
The Pro Tools stock compressor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, that's all I really know how to use.
Okay.
No, I've got a few others, but that's the one I use on everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. What about your delay? What are you going to take on your desert island delay?
There's one I use all the time. It's oh gosh, I think it's a Pro Tools stock plugin too.
Avid delay or D delay?
Yeah, no, it's gosh, I don't even know what it is, but I think it comes, or maybe it's in that the Air music
Yeah.
suite that comes with the Pro Tools setup. But there's a setting in one of those called the duct delay, which is basically just a ping pong delay
That's great.
that slowly decays. So
Awesome. Well, there you go. All right. Reverb. What's your desert island reverb?
B-verb.
All right.
No, I'll give you two more. Oh, one more. It's called Black Hole by Eventide.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Which is just this cool ethereal ambient thing. It's way too much for most music, but if you're doing ambient stuff, it's really cool.
Oh, yeah. I might even have. We're in the same boat, you know. It's Black Friday comes around, we buy a bunch of stuff on sale, and then you're like, I think I got that somewhere.
Dude, isn't that funny? Here's a funny story. I was just filling out my taxes, given all my receipts or like my breakdown to my accountant, and so I went through my inbox where I keep all my online purchases so I can kind of tally them up, and I ran across this one electronic receipt for something. I'm like, what did I spend $50 on? What is this thing? I never even installed it. Never even downloaded it. I bought it, never downloaded it. So anyways.
And you're like, yeah, I got a deal.
But yeah, that's what happens in this industry. You get so many of these sales, you buy them and then you forget about them.
I know. All right, last rapid fire, which is, I'm curious about this one. What about a VI synth? What would you take?
Ooh. Good one. A little boutique plugin called Atom, ATOM.
Okay.
Awesome. Just really, really cool sounds in there.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. How do you say it again?
ATOM, like an atom,
okay.
like an atomic bomb.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, awesome. Well, last thing before I let you go, or before we go to part 2 with talking about our track. How do people listen to your music, or do you have anything on Spotify, or how can people check out some more of your stuff?
SoundCloud is where I put a lot of stuff, and I haven't put anything new on there in a long time. I think I just put a few new tracks on there recently, but I don't really update that much anymore. I think I've got stuff on Spotify and all those like iTunes and stuff. But
do you have a name, or just your name, I guess?
Yeah, just my name. Yeah, just type in Vander Boegh, and it's VANDER, and then to get technical, there's a space, and then a capital BOEGH. So I don't know if like Spotify gets wonky if you don't do it just right.
Right.
But I don't know. A lot of my music isn't available anywhere. That's all right.
I know. What to say. It's like
I don't really care. Yeah, I don't care if anybody hears it or not. Just like our TV show is using it. Is the paycheck coming in?
That's the main thing. I know.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, we're going to do this again. Get some more. You can get in even some more nitty gritty of all the. More of the copyright stuff and all the kind of things that we.
Oh yeah.
We'll do that another time, but
anytime, man.
Awesome, man. All right.
Cool.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, dude. Later.